Jessica Frost-Ballas here with a video for Trinity Stamps. Today I'm creating a trio of quick and simple Halloween cards using only one die set and one sentiment die bundle. So let's get started. I just love the variety of eyes in the Eerie Eyes die set and thought they'd be perfect for some Halloween cards. I used the eyes die as a sizing reference, and then I sketched the outline of a cat's head onto black cardstock with a pencil before cutting it out. This can be as simple or complicated as you'd like to make it, but the simple outline is pretty unmistakable as a cat. I erased the pencil marks and then used the dies to cut out the eyes. Next, I take a scrap of yellow cardstock and cut out a piece to fit behind it. I use liquid glue to adhere the yellow cardstock to the back of the cat. Then I stamp part of the sentiment from Simply Sentimental Halloween onto the top left corner of the A2 panel and die cut the rest of the sentiment from black cardstock. I adhere the cat to the bottom right corner of my A2 panel and then adhere the Halloween die cut word with liquid glue. When I'm working with tiny die cuts, I like to add a little glue to a scrap of paper and dip the die cut into the glue and tap off the excess. This applies a very thin layer of glue so that I don't end up with blobs of glue squishing around the die cut on my card. And that's it for my first card. Super simple but effective, and you could easily change up the orientation and color of your cat for different looks. I've seen variations on the second mummy card all over Pinterest and thought I'd give it a try. I start by carefully tearing strips of off-white ivory cardstock lengthwise. You'll want to use a thicker cardstock that has good layers of fiber so that you see those rough edges when you tear. These don't have to be straight lines and should look a little rough and worn. Next, I place the strips on a piece of scrap paper for some distressing. I use a blending buddy to add a little antique linen distress oxide ink to the edges of the strips. I ended up changing my mind and used old paper and bundled sage distress oxides for a slightly different color. I use the new Sidekick blending brushes to apply the darker green, as they allow me to be a little more detailed. Once I finish adding a little color to the torn edges, I arrange them over a panel of black cardstock, leaving room for the angry eyes. I tape the eye die in place and then run it through my die cutting machine. I add a little yellow cardstock behind the eyes and then arrange the strips on top of the panel. I adhere them in place and then trim off the excess. Finally, I stamp another sentiment from Simply Sentimental Halloween onto the panel with my MISTI. For this design, I don't worry about making sure that my stamped image is perfectly crisp, as the slightly faded parts of the sentiment fit in well with the worn look. For my third card, I wanted to use all the eyes dies. So I start by blending black distress ink around the edges of a panel of dark gray cardstock with my blending buddy. I start off darker at the edges and fade to gray towards the center. After I finished my distress ink, I ended up adding regular black dye ink to the edges as well to get an even darker finish. Once the panel is dry, I arrange the Eerie Eyes dies around the edge of my panel and run them through my die cutting machine. Next, I adhere a mix of green, yellow, and orange cardstock behind the eyes, and I finish the card with a sentiment from Simply Sentimental Halloween. Originally, I had stamped the sentiment directly onto the panel, but decided I liked it better stamped and heat embossed on black cardstock and adhered on top of the gray panel so that it stood out more. In hindsight, I wish I had sprayed the gray cardstock with some shimmer spray and added some black splatters, but I didn't want to get sprays and splatters on the colored eyes, so I left it alone this time. But I'd recommend adding those extra details before you add the colored cardstock. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Be sure to subscribe to the Trinity Stamps channel for even more crafty inspiration. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, have an amazing day and happy crafting. Bye!